Well, hello. Welcome to the Faith Through Fire family. If you're watching this, it's because you recently decided to volunteer as a survivor mentor for our Fortify Peer Mentorship program. So I'm super excited to have you here. I wanted to take this moment to introduce myself and to share a little bit about the organization, and then lastly, to impress upon you how important you are to us and our community and the change that we're trying to incorporate into the world. So I'm going to share this. Let's see if I can make this look a little bit better. Let's try this. There we go. That looks nicer. All of these are actually mentors in the program, and you will likely meet them one way or another, whether it be through Zoom or in person. On the left here is Simone, Christy, Leanna, Chris, Anastasia, and Joni. They are all mentors for our program. And yeah, I just thought it would be fun to put a name to the face. So my name is Beth Wilmus, and I am the founder and CEO of Faith Through Fire. And I had breast cancer 8 years ago when I was 35 years old. At that time, my kids were 6, 4, and 1. And so, probably like you, I was not expecting that, especially at that juncture of my life. And double mastectomy, chemo, radiation, drug therapy, developed lymphedema as a result of treatment. So, kind of went through the whole thing. And I'm a very resilient person. And I really made a decision very early on in my diagnosis to not let this define me and to use this experience, for good. But that being said, what surprised me the most about the experience was how mentally exhausting it was. So, what I say all the time now is that cancer is just as much an emotional battle as it is a physical battle. And yet, I was shocked to find how little mental health help there is during the cancer journey. So that was more or less the seed for Faith Through Fire. And when I got done with treatment, like a lot of people, I just felt completely like a different person. I felt changed from the inside out. For me, that was a positive thing. I experienced a lot of post-traumatic growth, and I wanted to leave my career in sales. I had been a lifelong career salesperson and was very good at it, but it wasn't fulfilling. And I realized that I was spending a lot of time working for companies that were not in alignment with my values. And so after you become sick, I think it's just natural that you start reevaluating your priorities. And so when I started thinking, well, what would you want to do if you did something else? God kind of put it on my heart that I should be doing something with my breast cancer experience. But I really did not want to jump into cancer care full time. I said, this isn't who I am. It's just something I went through. But he really kept impressing upon me that this is something you could be doing something with. And so I started thinking, well, if you're going to do something, what would you do? Because it needs to be meaningful and it needs to be different than what's being done currently. And so, I turned to the emotional side of breast cancer and that thought that it's just as much an emotional battle as it is a physical battle. And I know you can relate to this. These right here are some comments made by members in our program who are mentees going through the mentorship program. My world is turned upside down with this diagnosis, but I'm trying to learn how to live with it and conquer the fears that come with it. I keep hearing you're so strong. What they don't hear is that I'm so tired. Up, down, things are always changing. It's so traumatic and it never goes away. And this person, I had high hopes of being cured as my first cancer was very early stage disease, but the recurrence really threw me into a spiral of fear and anxiety. Those thoughts are harder to manage this time. I have 2 elementary aged kids, and my biggest fear is that they will have to watch me weaken and die slowly. So, that these are real thoughts that occur, and it's very emotional. And it was eye-opening for me to realize that my oncologist, as lovely as she is, and I really enjoyed my oncologist, she was there to treat my illness. She was not there to alleviate my emotional suffering. So, one thing that I say all the time is that philanthropy exists to do one of 2 things. It either saves lives or it changes lives. And Faith Through Fire changes the lives of men and women impacted by breast cancer. So our mission is to reduce the fear and anxiety that breast cancer patients feel and replace it with hope and a path toward thriving. So just to give you a little background about us, I launched Faith Through Fire in 2019. It started with just a handful of survivors willing to volunteer their time to mentor the newly diagnosed. And this was the start of the Fortify Peer Mentorship Program. By 2020, oncologists and nurses started referring to our program, and seeing our impact, we improved our website. We expanded our programs to include a partnership with Build-A-Bear to provide teddy bears to kids impacted by breast cancer because they needed a tangible source of emotional support. And in 2021, we realized and found that only 19% of women felt equipped to transition into survivorship. Survivorship is often the hardest part for a lot of people. When you're done with that fight or flight mode and everything kind of settles, that's when the pieces tend to kind of crumble, which is very surprising to patients. And there wasn't really anyone there to prepare them for that and then to encourage them through that. So in 2021, we created an online survivorship community. It's the Mighty Network. You're going to be asked to join as a new mentor, and started the Besties with Breasties podcast. And we did that to validate feelings, reduce isolation, and provide information to improve quality of life. In 22, that was at the height of the pandemic, and people were really hitting a wall emotionally. They weren't able to have, emotional support in the clinical setting like they were used to. And we see this anyway, regardless of the pandemic. At a certain point, you just hit that wall and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm feeling discouraged. I'm feeling scared. It's pretty common. And so I remembered finding myself quite often thinking, when I would have those conversations with the patient, this is when I wish I could tell them to just pack their bags and get away for a weekend, get away from the hospitals, reconnect with your loved ones, and just really just decompress. And so that was the catalyst for building our respite house in partnership with Innsbrook Resort in Innsbrook, Missouri. So it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's on piers, so it's like a tree house. It's in the woods. It's beautiful. It's right down the street from the pool, and there's lakes there. You can go kayaking, you can play volleyball or shuffleboard or pickleball, or swim at the pools, go to the beach, go to restaurants. And so we built this house. And we unveiled it in 2022. We started sending patients in 2023, I guess. And we started sending patients last May. And we've been sending families every week since. And just at the end of last year in 2023, we fully paid off the house thanks to generous donors. And we own the house free and clear. So in 2024, we plan to scale our organization so that we can help more patients. And so that is the plan right now for Faith Through Fire. So how do we change lives? By being there. It's so simple, you guys. I tell people all the time, what we're doing on the surface doesn't look all that different, or special. There's nothing new under the sun, as they say. We have the patient resource Fearless, which shows up at their doorstep after they ask for a mentor. We have the podcast, we have mentorship, we have the Build-A-Bear family support, and we have the respite house. Those things all by themselves, are very nice, but everything that we do is very intentional and with a trauma-informed approach. And what makes it special is kind of the whole package, right? So we are there from the moment you get diagnosed all the way through survivorship. And everything that we offer is very intentional in that it offers you support in a low maintenance and unobtrusive way that complements the trauma that you're experiencing, that fight or flight that you're in. And it's oftentimes not until a patient gets completely through with treatment, they've processed the trauma, they're on the other side, that they'll really acknowledge and realize how much you meant to them during their journey. So don't be surprised if you are mentoring them and you're not sure, am I making a difference? Are they really appreciative of, am I doing anything? That's totally normal. When you're in that fight or flight, they're not necessarily going to recognize it at that point. They recognize it on the back end. So just know that. Additional I can't speak today. Additional benefits of membership when somebody asks for a mentor. We train you on other area nonprofits that can meet their individualized needs, so you can make referrals. We provide them small encouraging gifts at pivotal moments in their journey. We provide referrals to mental health providers who specialize in oncology patients, which we think is very, very important. We're there to encourage them, but most of us have benefited from getting professional help. And we do have therapists that we highly recommend if somebody wants them. And then the private online community of survivors with access to courses and quarterly events. This welcome packet also shows up in the mail with the Fearless Guide the minute they ask for a mentor. So as I said, everything that we do is incredibly intentional and it's thought of through a trauma perspective, right? It's trauma informed. Because when you're first diagnosed, you're in that acute trauma phase. That's usually when you're in active treatment. The programming has to be low maintenance and unobtrusive because you're in the 3 Fs: fight, flight, or freeze. And so in this stage, the focus is on self-care, providing psychological safety and validation. And that's really what you're going to be doing as a mentor. The second phase is the processing phase. This is when they get done with active treatment and they begin to experience a wide array of emotions. Sometimes it's excitement, sometimes it's fear of recurrence, confusion. They start to question, did I make the right choices? At this point, they're really looking for answers, and this is when they're able to take in new information to help make sense of their journey. So the focus is on continuing to journey with them by educating about medical trauma and the opportunity for post-traumatic growth. And the final phase is the resolution phase. This is when they've processed the trauma, and we provide frameworks that teach, guide, and empower them. It says you, but you're a survivor too, to overcome challenges and reclaim purpose. So focus is on creating meaning and purpose through education, the opportunity for mentoring, and this helps provide a sense of community and helps everyone move forward. So just to give you a little background on why we do things the way we do and what we offer and why we offer it. So there's a lot of emotional benefits for the patient to ask for a mentor. It promotes hope and positive self-image, reduces stress and anxiety. It preserves social support. Social support is so important in terms of thriving after a cancer diagnosis. It helps them facilitate the expressions of concerns or feelings. It's really useful to have somebody that shares your lived experience to be able to confide in them about how you're feeling. And it increases their ability to effectively cope. So I put this slide in here because I think it's important to note that everything that we do, we try to do with excellence. And peer support in a lot of nonprofits is kind of a throwaway. It's an afterthought. Oh, we provide, financial services. Oh, and we do a peer support. Or, oh, we provide X, Y, and Z. Oh, and we'll do peer support. But for us, it's a cornerstone to everything that we do. We think it's really important to validate your journey as you're going through breast cancer. And so you probably can't read this entire graph, but this is everything that goes into making sure that they have this kind of curated concierge experience once they ask for a mentor. So we try to create this patient experience with exceptional programming, automation and systems, and then really having great referral partnerships. So this is just some quotes from some of my favorite quotes of what members have said about us. And so you can kind of read through these a little bit. Some of the ones that I love the most are, no one focuses on the mental battle after a cancer diagnosis. One says, I'm an ER nurse, but it didn't prepare me for this. We have a lot of doctors and nurses in our program, and they always say it's so different being the patient. A lot of times they say that it makes them a better care, provider when they get on the other side. But they said, thank you for all you do. This is terrifying. I found the podcast to be such a source of comfort during this time, as well as the mentorship program. Thank you, Faith Through Fire. What you're doing really works. It's helped me bear the emotional and spiritual burden of this difficult time. And this one's a favorite of mine. It says, I'm an atheist and was worried about asking help from a faith-oriented group, but Bambi is the best. I so appreciate her and your organization. I've started telling more people about my diagnosis and always put a plug for Faith Through Fire based on my very positive experience. We have a very inclusive, very loving community. And so we keep it that way. We have a very giving culture, and philanthropy is really important to those that are involved in Faith Through Fire. So I want to conclude by welcoming you to the team, but also I want to conclude with an invitation to go deeper. So it's important to understand, if you have not been involved in a lot of nonprofit organizations, being a nonprofit is not easy. We are completely dependent on the generosity of others in order to be around for future patients. So I think it's an interesting bullet point that for the past 2 decades, the share of American households that give to charity has been steadily falling. It's less than half now compared to 2/3 in the early 2000s. I don't know why that is, but it is happening, and it's a source of concern for nonprofits who provide vital services to people in need. So many of us volunteer our time because it feels good to make purpose from our pain, and we want to give back. But we at Faith Through Fire believe a bigger opportunity exists. And this leads me to my ask. I really would love for you to consider joining us and advocating for your breast cancer patients and their mental health by considering becoming a monthly donor. So even $5 or $10 per month makes a huge difference for us. It allows us to plan for the future and serve more people. It really is the fuel that keeps us moving forward. And so I just invite you to consider that. 65% of volunteers with a nonprofit organization also donate. It's pretty ambitious, but I want Faith Through Fire to have such a culture of giving and compassion that I want to be more like at that 95% mark. So we literally cannot do this work without you. And I just wanted to take this moment to say thank you for volunteering your time. Thank you for coming into this group. We have an amazing, fun, giving group that I think you're going to really love being a part of. And thank you for considering being a monthly donor with us. It really makes an enormous difference. And when you become a monthly donor with us, we provide you a report, an impact report on a life changed every quarter. And so that's something that you'll receive in your email when you go deeper with us. If you feel called to do so, you can become a monthly donor by going to faiththroughfire.org/donate. And then you have to click recurring donation. It defaults to one time, but you can click recurring donation. So this is the part where I say, if you have any questions whatsoever, this is a recording, but I want you to reach out to your ambassador with your questions, or you can reach out to Sarah and I, but your ambassador is there as your point person for any questions that you might have. And at some point, I'm sure we're going to meet in person, and I'm just excited to do so. And I thank you again for being part of this organization and for donating your time and your energy and your finances. So thank you so much, and welcome to Faith Through Fire.